Good Friday afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. Plenty of Browns talk to get to a little later in the show. Tim Bielik from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, will join us. Talking Browns, that's where we begin. Some interesting things coming out about the guys that the Browns acquired in the NFL draft. Different coaches who went up against some of the players that have found their way onto the Browns roster with some interesting things to say. Big Ten coach on David Bell, long-term NFL guy. I know he didn't test well, but I could care less. Catches everything, just gets open. I know he's not fast or this or that. He is really, really good. That is from ESPN.com. And with that, let's welcome in G. Bush, 92.3 The Fan, and getting ready to be part of the launch of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. 11 to 1 Monday through Friday. Monday is the premiere. Make sure you Google it. It's on YouTube. Find it. Subscribe to it. G. Bush, appreciate the time. Let's talk David Bell. You hear what they say. What's your reaction to that? It sounds like the coaches that coached against him like him a whole lot.
I think I was wrong about this one. I really thought that when I saw the pick, just like a lot of other individuals, I thought that it was a situation where, like, they reached for him. I said, "Oh goodness, this guy runs a 4.65." We have been talking about Will Fuller for such a long time and Jarvis Landry. So when you get to David Bell and you look at him and they draft him in the third round, you're thinking to yourself, "Man, I don't know if this is the splash I wanted to get." But there's a lot of people that reached out to me, fans and a lot of other people. And so one of the things that you got to do in this industry, you got to be flexible a little bit. So they said, "G. Bush, we know you're a film guy. We know you love watching guys on tape. Just go back and watch him play against some of the bigger Big Ten teams. Go back and watch him play against Ohio State, Michigan State, watch him play against Iowa. Take a look at some of the plays and just tell you, just let you know, he's not going to be a guy that's going to be a burner. He's not going to, take off on you, and he's not going to beat you deep. But this guy just gets open. He's one of those guys that's a professional receiver and a professional route runner where he just gets open. He's not going to wow you with his flash or some of the highlights and stuff, or he's not going to be a vertical guy. But this dude consistently gets open against some of the best defensive backs in the game. Michigan had a great defense this year. Ohio State consistently gets top first-round picks. So I tell you what, when I went back and watched, I said, you know what? David Bell is a guy that I think is really going to contribute on this team. And I think he's going to be one of those guys where you watch during training camp and you just start seeing him creep around. He's hanging around. Next thing you know, he's with the twos. Next thing you know, he's moving around in the slot. And next thing you know, David Bell's a guy who's getting first-team reps. And so I went back and watched it. I think it's a great pick by the Browns, and I'm expecting him to do some pretty big things this year for the Browns, considering.
Yeah, seems to make big catches, third down catches, cover. Even when he's covered well, he seems to catch the ball. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at what some Big 12 coaches said about a couple of the Sooners that the Browns drafted. Perrion Winfrey can be really dominant when he wants to turn it on, and we've seen from the time he's drafted, he's had it on for the Browns. And then also Isaiah Thomas, another guy, a guy that will play in the NFL for a while. Again, these are coaches who have coached against these two players. And G. Bush, I like Winfrey a whole lot. I liked his demeanor. I liked everything about him, and he hasn't changed my thought about him since the time he found out he was a Brown.
I think, to me, when I saw it on the third day, I said, he saved the Browns draft for me. He saved it because I think that you look at this team and you look at what the Browns did, you got to look at it by draft picks, right? Take a look at what they did in starters, guys that can potentially start. I think the kicker will start. I think that David Bell will get a lot of minutes. We just talked about him. Perrion Winfrey, for me, is a guy that's going to be a 3 technique, and he's going to start. I think he's gonna slowly work his way up, but I think he starts in the second unit. But he gives you day one pass rush ability. You already know what he brings as far as fire and energy and effort. And the key is the coach for the Big 12 says when he turns it on, when he wants to. I think that, we saw in his film and some of the breakdown and just him talking about being excited about being a Cleveland Brown. I think you go back and you watch him, and you know he's going to be turned on. You know his motor's going to be running high, and I think he's going to give you an opportunity to get some pass rush ability at the 3 technique, which the Cleveland Browns are sorely missing. I think he was the pick of the draft. I think he also has the most upside, because if you can get him to perform and give him use some pass rush at the 3 technique, now you already know what you got out of Myles Garrett. Chase Winovich, we'll talk about him later on in the show a little bit here. I like him as well. I think you got some things going on that can potentially help this team and take the Browns to the next level. Not to mention, if you can get Jadeveon Clowney back, I think now you're talking about a really formidable defensive line, athletically speaking.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the thing to keep in mind, it's come out, Perion Winfrey wouldn't say it. A lot of people think they were asking him to do some things that just don't play to his strengths at Oklahoma, and that could go right to why he didn't look like he was on all the time, because he was trying to do things that were not strengths of his. So those are all things to keep in mind with him. This one's really interesting as well. So ESPN ranked the draft day trades. So there was a tie for one, the Chiefs receiving pick 21, and that was the trade with the Patriots where it was 29-94, 121. Eagles pick 13, and the Texans received 15, 124. And then the third one is the Texans trade with the Browns, where they gave up 44 to the Browns. They get 68, 108, 124, and you see surplus value was a third-round pick. And again, Andrew Berry assessed it, knew what he wanted to do, and kind of worked it like a guy who's been doing this a whole lot longer than just 2 or 3 years.
Well, here's the thing. I think he, once again, you didn't get the, I guess, shock value. You didn't get the big name, the splash player at 44, because guess what? 44 was a place where you could have got some of those bigger names that were on the board that we talked about that would be available. And I think a lot of people were upset when you traded back and you saw Emerson and you got a defensive end out of UAB who gives you an opportunity to rush the pass. So I like his skill set as well. And then still getting David Bell, who's a slot guy, who's a guy that I think is going to contribute for him. Those names aren't, guys that are going, you turn those over and look at it. Those names aren't going to move you out of your seat, so to speak, especially because the Cleveland Browns are used to headlines at this point. Deshaun Watson's a headline. Baker Mayfield, who's not even, pretty much is not going to be on the team, is in the headline every single week. When you got guys with those type of names, Amari Cooper is a top flight receiver that the Browns made a splash about. So when you get Emerson, it looks like, wow, I don't know what you guys are doing, but there's always more than meets the eye. I'm going to start calling Andrew Berry Mr. Transformer, because he's always transforming these picks into other ones. Troy Hill leaves. They give Troy Hill back to the Rams. Now it makes a little more sense. Greedy Williams is in his 4th year. You may not be able to keep Greedy. He may actually play out of his contract. And that's what happens sometimes when you got good players. Greedy's might not be able to come back. Troy Hill's gone. But now you look at the defensive backfield. A.J. Green is a guy that they really love. Emerson is long, athletic. He fits right into what they want to do as far as big corners go. And obviously you got Denzel Ward and Newsome, which are interchangeable. So it makes a lot of sense. You got a lot of things, and those trading back really helped you solidify those roles. So after you look at it a little bit, it'll sink in, and it's a solid draft. Solid draft, I would give it.
Absolutely, and there's always levels to it. There's this year's team, there's the team 2 years from now, and there's team 4 years from now.
Exactly.
There's 3 dimensions to the way he's playing this game, being Andrew Berry. This one, let's take a look. This tweet about Jarvis Landry, and the Browns sources are saying, and that Jarvis Landry has not heard from the Browns as of late following drafting 2 wide receivers in the draft. However, the Baltimore Ravens have expressed interest in Landry. Of course, they traded Hollywood Brown to the Cardinals. So kind of interesting. You're starting to hear Jarvis connected with other teams, Ravens, Titans, maybe the Saints. looking less and less likely like he's going to be back with the Browns.
Yeah, to me, and I'm just going to come out and say it. The only way I think that Jarvis Landry is going to be back with the Browns is if he comes to them and says, look, man, I'm willing to do something, $4 million or something like that, because I really feel this team has an opportunity to win a championship, and I really want to be here. That's the only way I think that the Jarvis Landry thing happens. I mean, when you go out and draft a couple of receivers, which they did, they also got Woods, and there's a kid out of Northern Iowa that I think that they're really high on in terms of getting him at a position in the draft. They did a guy that's 6'4", runs a 4.2. I think he's a guy that they look as a guy that could be a project for him. You look at some of the second-year guys. They've invested in Anthony Schwartz. They go out and get David Bell. And I think that they look at David Bell and saying, well, David Bell actually tested better than Jarvis Landry. Go back and look at some of Jarvis Landry's pro days in the combine. He's in the 4.6, high 4.6, low 4.7s. He's not a guy that's going to wow you deep or vertical, not the biggest guy in the world. But Jarvis, what he gives you is that toughness. He can go out and make catches, and he's just savvy. So if you got that in a guy and you really like him, you got a couple projects in Donovan Peoples-Jones, you got Schwartz, Demetric Felton, guys that you're trying to turn over and kind of find something on. Sometimes you think, hey, I might as well just give some of those reps to the young pups and see who turns into something. And so it's cheaper. You have them under asset or under control for a longer period of time. So I don't think that Jarvis is a guy that's going to be back unless something happens where he says, you know what, I'm going to turn down a bunch of money, or I'm going to come for a really, really discount price with the Browns.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Someone wants to talk defensive line. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with G. Bush. He will be one of the new hosts of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, 11 to 1, Monday through Friday. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This caller wants to talk a little bit about the Browns' defensive line.
Yes, my name is Skip. I live in Conroe, Texas, but I used to go to Browns games in 1964 through 66 with my grandpa. I've been a long-time Browns fan. I just saw your show about Chase Winovich, what kind of contribution he can make. And it seemed kind of biased because I think with Perrion Winfrey in the middle, even if you don't have Jadeveon Clowney, I think Chase is really going to step up just like Jadeveon did opposite Miles. That's just my thought. I appreciate you letting me speak.
As always, we appreciate all of the voicemails. And G. Bush, I think Winovich is more of a guy if you can use him, and I think what the point we made is if you use him like attack McKinley, where change of pace, keep everybody fresh, don't ask him to do too much, he's going to be really effective in that role.
Yeah, listen, I like Chase Winovich, and a guy that doesn't get much, much love is Taven Bryan in the middle there as well. I think I like what he gives us as well inside. When you look at these guys, are they going to be as effective as your Jadeveon Clowney? It's going to be hard to be as effective as him because of just Jadeveon Clowney's physical ability, just from his ability to run, turn his hips. He's really good against the run, and I think that's the best part of his game. Jadeveon Clowney is a guy who doesn't have the bend or the pass rushing ability that, say, Myles Garrett has, but not many people do. But what Jadeveon Clowney really brings to the table is motor, athletic ability, speed, his get off, his burst, has a great inside move. And he just offers you a place where, if you're opposing offensive lineman, you can't just double team a guy like Myles Garrett. You can't just shift your whole focus to stopping Myles Garrett because you got a guy on the other end that can rush and really be disruptive in the backfield. So Winovich is a guy that I think is a guy that you can even drop a little bit. You can disguise. You can bring some fire zone concepts where maybe he drops into a hook zone, nothing serious. But once again, effort player, guy has some athleticism. I think if you use him in the role of attack McKinley, and you keep guys fresh, mix in with Alex Wright, and we didn't really last segment really get a chance to talk about Isaiah Thomas, who's the other end. Man, there's so many Isaiah Thomases, man. what a name. There's so many of us basketball players. It's great basketball player. So we got to get used to that. But I think he's also another guy who can rush the passer a little bit. The Browns are accumulating some bodies in that up front that can really move around. I think Winovich is going to be one of those guys in that mix.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is also interesting. So the 7 worst decisions of the 2022 NFL offseason, this according to Bleacher Report. All right, number 1 is the Commanders overpaying for Carson Wentz. Number 3, the Falcons alienating Matt Ryan. And number 6 is the Cowboys trade Amari Cooper for peanuts. And you have to like the way that is phrased. It was actually a 5th-round pick. But again, Andrew Berry was ahead of the curve, G. Bush, as far as what the wide receiver market was going to be in terms of pay and the draft, how quickly they all went off the board.
I mean, the receiver, if you're not, it's one of those things, if you're a receiver now and you're a young kid, yeah, you think about playing wide receiver. Before it was corner. But the wide receiver market has blown up a little bit. And the reason why is because nowadays the way the rules are scheduled and the way the rules look and these quarterbacks, Jamar Chase came into the league with and by the way, people forget, Jamar Chase sat out a year. He was, he sat out in LSU. He wasn't even like, hey, I'm gonna come right into the league. He sat out and he killed the league. He destroyed it. And people found out if you have a good quarterback and you got a top flight receiver, you could wreck a lot of stuff. So you see people saying, listen, I need 2 or 3 of these guys. Give me a couple of them over here. Ohio State receivers go high. They'll have more receivers going high. But the thing is, to get a guy like Amari Cooper for pennies on a dollar, and by far, people, they got Michael Gallup over there. They like him a lot. You got CeeDee Lamb over there. They like him a lot. But let's be clear. They're not better than Amari Cooper. He's the reason you guys are running wide open. He's the reason you're working against backside corners, because Amari Cooper is the show shopper. He's the guy who catches all the balls. If you need 3rd and 7, guess who you're throwing the ball to? It's not Michael Gallup. So I congratulate the Dallas Cowboys for going ahead and giving us a bona fide ball player. Great in the locker room. I don't even know if he talks. He might talk in sign language or something. Him and Nick Chubb do silent hand code. It's Morse code for those two dudes. I'll take it because you know what? We've done a lot of talking But we need a lot of finishers, and he's one of the guys that I can count on to come do his job, be professional, and just keep making touchdown catches.
Yeah, I'm with you. The other thing that you mentioned, Jamar Chase. Remember in the preseason he was dropping balls left and right, and the Bengals were so worried about it. You know, he's just waiting for the games to count before he showed what he could do.
In that first game, I'm like, Jamar Chase has 8 catches for 195?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah. This is another one that's kind of crazy. So take a look at this tweet again. So field goals against the Browns. Opponents made 26 of 27 field goals. That's 96%. It's the highest percent allowed, as if that's anything. And Tucker and McPherson only accounted for 7 of the 26. So opposing field goal kickers didn't miss a kick against Browns in road games. Now, important to note, the Browns field goal kickers were 72%, 73%, 72.7. League average 85%. Don't tell me the kicking game doesn't matter.
Man, you know what? You know, it's a terrible job out of you guys out there. I need people in the media to stop doing this. You know, G. Bush, they took the kicker high. Stop it. Shout out to your producers and your staff for coming up with that question, because when you ask why did they take a kicker in the 4th round, well, you take a kicker in every round and until you get it right. 73%. When I'm watching the Browns play, every kick goes in. Extra points go in. Sometimes they block the kick. The kick goes off someone's hands. It still goes through the uprights. It's like an alternate universe. If you line up for a field goal, it's good. It just in my heart, in my soul, listen. If it could be 65 yards for the game in a snowstorm, and guess what? It goes in. We got to get to a point where we can have some sort of semblance of that, right? Don't give me 90%. Just give me league average. You know how many games the Browns could have won if we just kicked league average, right? Can we take the punt? Can we hold on to the punt once they snap it to you and you just get it off? All we need to do is just get it off, right? So, you know, hopefully this works out for the Browns, because, you know, this is going to be one of those things if we get to a point where we get the best kicker in the country and we spend a 4th-round pick on him and he comes in and it looks like Austin Seibert or something, it's just going to be one more thing that they say, only in Cleveland, only with the Browns.
You had to try to do something, though. You see the numbers don't lie. G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we turn our attention to the draft. Some looks at what people are saying about the Browns draft. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Thanks for buying a fishing license. I want you to picture all the great things this simple purchase does. Like building public boat ramps, keeping local waters clean, and maintaining a healthy fish population.
What's Mom doing?
When you buy a fishing license, you do a lot. Every dollar protects and maintains your local waterways for future generations to enjoy. Visit takemefishing.org.
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush, one of the hosts of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, 11 to 1 on YouTube. It debuts Monday, so go find that. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the draft and what the Browns did in this year's draft.
Hi, I'm Thad from Youngstown. I'm a big huge Browns fan, and I'm a little disappointed in this draft. It seemed like we drafted more for developmental prospects for next year. I don't know how they'll pan out this year, and I think our window, as far as winning the Super Bowl, is very small because we spent a lot of money. You know, we got to win now. So I was just a little concerned about draft as the draft goes, as far as that's concerned, because, as you know, I don't think we'll get Jarvis Landry back because he wants more money, and he's not going to give us a discount, hometown discount. And Jadeveon Clowney's holding out for as much as money as he possibly can, so we're trying to get him back. And we drafted Alex Wright as a possible replacement for him, but I don't think he's going to be ready. He'll get some work in, but I still don't think he'll be on Clowney status. But I'm just a little disappointed in Andrew's draft this year. Just thought I like the Perion Winfrey draft pick though. I think he'll help us out. David Bell, I don't know. We'll see. Even though I know Deshaun Watson is an elite quarterback, I still think they could have gave him more help on that end. Your thoughts, please. Thank you.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. G. Bush, I'm not really disappointed. It's not a sexy draft, but again, I think it extends the Browns' window. If you get Clowney back, I like it even a whole lot more.
Well, I try to put it in perspective for you, right? The draft ain't gonna hit you in the face and say, "Wow, man, they got all the names." But I had to do this little exercise with myself. Okay, so Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback. So he's getting 230. That's guaranteed 230 up front. Nick Chubb is a top 5 running back. He just got his deal redone. Overall, you got the best backfield in the game, and not to mention, I like what they did with Jerome Ford. I think we might have to, when I come back, we might have to talk a little something. Kareem Hunt, Jerome Ford, and Demetric Felton. Listen, especially with Kareem Hunt on his last year, right? I'll love that pick. Go back and watch him a little bit. But when you look at it, you just go look what he did. He was able to get Amari Cooper. We just talked about it for pennies on dollar, one of the better receivers in the league. Now let's go to you. You got the 2 best guards, in my estimation. They're both in the top 5. Your guards are. So you just redid their contracts, right? You got one of the best top 5 defensive ends in the game in Myles Garrett. You just gave him a contract a little bit ago. Denzel Ward is a top 5 corner. You just gave him some money. As we go down the list and we keep talking about this, the Browns fans got to understand how many top 5 guys you want. How many top 5 guys at your position? I mean, I know. Let's go back a couple of years ago. I mean, we had the Mangini years and the Chudzinski years. Listen, we didn't have nothing to speak about. Now we got guys that are bona fide ball players. Newsome is one of the better players in the league, and he's a young guy. JOK is a guy that's one of the better young guys in the league. So just think about what the Browns have, considering, all of the ups and downs, and whether or not you like David Bell or you like those guys. If you get Jadeveon Clowney to come back, I mean, what more do you want? You can't have an all-star at every position, and everybody can't get paid. And the Browns have done a good job of giving contracts to their better players, which they never used to do. I can't be upset at Andrew Berry for this draft because he filled some holes, he looked for the future, and he looked for some depth.
Yeah, and you make a valid point. No roster is perfect. Browns fans are kind of focusing on the holes and not the area where the top 5 guys are. So, but you know what? That's what fans do. That's okay. Let's take a look at every draft team's best value selection. This is according to the Bleacher Report. And a guy you mentioned, a running back, Jerome Ford at 156, is the one that they say is the Browns' best value pick. Ford could render Hunt expendable if Ford pans out like a high-end backup. Potential starter rating suggests. it would allow Cleveland to trade Hunt for a player who fills a more pressing need or pick up some future draft capital. Now, G. Bush, I don't see Andrew Berry trading Kareem Hunt. Teams that are expecting to, contend for a Super Bowl don't do that with the 1A running back who is he's basically your goal line back.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Kareem Hunt can be, and I said it, Kareem Hunt can be used as a sweetener for Baker Mayfield, right? If you go into the season and you can't get rid of Baker Mayfield's contract, or you can't find a guy that's willing to, or a team that's willing to, split the difference on that $18 million, or even give you anything, if you pair Kareem Hunt with that, now it looks a little different, right? Especially if you're a team that likes to run the ball like a Seattle. He fits the description of what they want to do in Seattle, run the ball and be physical. Hey, Christian McCaffrey is down there in Carolina. Hey, let's take a look at that. Yeah, but he can't stay healthy. What about another running back they can use on the goal line? Christian McCaffrey can be more of a finesse back. And, not saying I want to give up Kareem Hunt, because trust me, if we want to just go to the season and just, beat people up with our backs, I'm all for it. But when you look at it, I mean, the stable of backs they got, Dearness Johnson they brought back, I think he's a starter in the league somewhere. Demetric Felton is a guy that I think is going to be going to that gadget role with Anthony Schwartz, but he's a guy that can give you some carries. But back to Jerome Ford, he's a guy that, first of all, he transferred from Alabama. Just go back and watch him. I saw him four or five times this year. And the fact that this guy gives you the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, he was a slot receiver in high school, never really played running back like that too much. But go back and watch. The guy can cut. The guy has legit breakaway speed. I mean, he's the dude that looks way faster in pads. You're like, hold on, but you only run a 4.4. His 4.4 is different because he's still running that with pads on. He can catch the football. He has some ability he has great feet. And he does not go down on first contact. He just reminds me of the Browns running back. Kareem Hunt don't go down. He can catch the ball. Nick Chubb don't go down. He can catch the ball. Felton can catch the ball. So it's a great pick for me. If they have to say goodbye to one of those running backs, I feel sorry. But I'm going to tell you, he's going to make the team. I don't know what they're going to do with the rest of the backs. This guy's going to make the team because you're going to just turn on the tape and say, every time I see him, he just make plays. And I think he's one of the steals of the draft.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we turn our attention to Baker Mayfield, a voicemail with an interesting idea for what the Browns should do with Baker Mayfield. Sports4CLE, will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with G. Bush. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one with an interesting idea about what the Browns should do with Baker Mayfield.
Hi, Steve Lannon. Just curious, could the Browns release Baker Mayfield? I know they have to pay the $18 million, but couldn't they put some kind of a written agreement with him that, yeah, we'll do that, but you can't sign with anybody in the AFC North? Thanks. Keep up the good work. Love the show.
As always, we appreciate all of the voicemails. G. Bush, if Andrew Berry could do that, he'd probably void about 18 of the 32 teams out there. But if you release him, you release him. He can go wherever he wants.
Yeah, man. Back in the day, college football used to do that all the time, right? You know what I'm saying? Hey, Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes and say, hey, listen, I know I signed you, but you can't go nowhere east or west of the Mississippi. You like, that leaves me with where, coach? Alaska State? But no, this the pros. It's called a collective bargaining agreement. And unfortunately, the rules state that if you do cut a guy, you can't have a backdoor contract that's written on like a napkin or something that says you can't, wink, wink, nod, nod, you can't go nowhere with the Steelers or the Ravens.
I like where he's going, though. It's an interesting thought, but yeah.
It is. I even thought about this, man. Hey, if Baker wasn't on the team, could he just be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to avoid my own deal. I'm going to avoid the own deal. I'm going to bet on myself. I'll take $1 million base salary, pay me $1 million to go away, and then other teams will pick me up because they don't have that $18 million attached to me, right? But somebody was like, come on, have you ever heard of an NFL player giving money back? It stands for not for long for a reason, G. Bush. I don't care how much progressive money you got, you don't give back 18 guaranteed. You let the team figure out that on your behalf. Whatever y'all want to do, I'm going to get paid regardless. I think, there's this thing. To me, I think Baker is going to go somewhere. You look at the Giants have emerged a little bit. They've emerged as a team that can possibly be a team that's looking at Baker because Lord knows they don't have a quarterback and they didn't do anything to draft it to suggest that they have any sort of answers out there either. But how do you feel about Baker Mayfield in the New York media?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't do too well in the Cleveland media, let alone the 24-hour news cycle with the Giants. So I don't think that is. We'll be talking about this throughout the summer because I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm with you. And yesterday that ESPN report came out from Jake Trotter, and parts of it are kind of interesting. So according to multiple sources, those close to Mayfield, who at that point had missed one game because of the shoulder, wondered if the Browns were trying to make him look bad in prime time. That was against the Steelers to potentially pave the way for the franchise to more easily explain why they were moving on. Obviously, the Browns declined comment. They're not going to do that. I'm not buying that for a second. He just didn't play well. I mean, were there some things they could have done differently? Sure. But he didn't play well all year.
It's just, he told us you was ready to play. When Case Keenum won against the Denver Broncos, you told us, I'm coming back. I'm 100% ready to go against the Steelers the first time. And when I heard it, I turned to my wife and said, and she's looking at me like, listen, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. But I'm just talking to her, I said, if he comes back and he's hurt, he's not going to throw the football well. We're playing the Steelers. We can get back on track. She's just looking at me, shaking her head. That's what they should have told him. Look, man, if you sit out and just say, look, you're hurt, come back when you're ready to go, none of this, we might not even be talking about this today, to be honest with you, because if he plays 2 to 3 games, he's living off the goodwill of the year before. We might not even be where we are today if he just keeps it 100% and say, look, man, I'm not going to come out here and do a disservice to the people in the locker room. I don't think I can play with the way this is going. I got full faith in Case Keenum. He'll go out there and do his thing. I'll come back when I'm ready and healthy at my best to help the team. I'm not going to put – and guess what? We probably ain't even sitting here. But when you force your way back in the lineup, everything you put on film counts. It just is what it is. They ask you all the time, are you hurt or are you injured? And football players know the difference between the two.
Yeah, and again, if you're out there, they're going to expect you to perform at the level they need you to perform. All right, before we let you go, let's take a look at this Josina Anderson tweet. Spoke to a source from a team that had expressed interest in Baker Mayfield. They had talks, but they cooled, not wanting to pay the asking price, feeling that he has to be cut. Follow-up comments tonight. No one's trying to do the Browns any favors in this situation. And Josina Anderson adds, this is ridiculous. Yeah, and that's, again, a reference to the guaranteed money to Deshaun Watson's contract. And there's probably some of that. I don't think they're going to cut him and get nothing for him, though. I really don't see Andrew Berry doing that.
Yeah, are some teams willing to just, stick it to the Browns just because, that they signed Deshaun Watson? Maybe it's a couple of them out there, but At the end of the day, all that stuff. If you're trying to play those little reindeer games behind the scenes and do all that kind of stuff, you're gonna mess around, and that kind of stuff will come back to bite you. And you know what? Because guess what? It's about winning games and figuring out what's best for your team. And if you're just not trying to go after a player and play them because you want to stick it to some team that's in another conference, this might be an NFC team. Who cares what the Browns do in Deshaun Watson? I think it just boils down to this. Hey, no team's going to – and by the way, there's no hurry. What's the hurry? Veterans don't want to go to camp anyway. Baker is still rehabbing. Who wants to go to OTAs? Who wants any of that kind of stuff? It's not even really a big timetable to get it done or anything. You could get this move done late July, early August. He gets into camp. He learns the playbook, whatever the case may be. And guess what? The deal's done. But right now, there's no urge to, go about. You're trying to figure out what you got in your rookies. Now, after you draft a rookie and see a couple of rookies and they don't look so good, or your veteran backup gets hurt, now that moves the timetable up a little bit because now you want to get a guy in there. But other than that, there's no pressing need to get it done right now anyway. It's May.
G. Bush, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Enjoy the debut, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You can see it 11 to 1 Monday. It debuts here on YouTube, and it'll be on every day, Monday through Friday. Good luck with that, and thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it, G. Bush.
Anytime. Appreciate you.
All right, G. Bush. Make sure you watch him on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, Tim Bielik joins us talking more Browns. Sports4CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns. Let's head to 10 bold predictions for the offseason. This is from CBSSports.com. Top one was Russell Wilson will win the MVP in 2022. He, of course, moving to the Denver Broncos. Number 6 here. Deshaun Watson will play fewer than 8 games. No one knows exactly what the NFL will decide, but he can't imagine any decision coming until right before the season. And then 7, Browns will eat $12 million of Baker Mayfield's contract, which is almost $19 million. Let's welcome in Tim Bielik. Tim, they call them bold predictions. Watson playing fewer than 8 games. I would be surprised if that is true.
who knows what the NFL is going to do as far as, the third-party arbitrator leveling down a suspension. But again, it seems weird to me that they would do that before there's any resolution on the civil cases with Deshaun Watson. It would be kind of nonsense. I think it would be kind of jumping the gun to do that before we even know how those courts would rule and whether they rule in favor of Watson or, the plaintiffs in this case. So I can't imagine, at least right now, that would be a thing that happens this year. I mean, if it does, it'd be very interesting. I mean, I could understand why they would, but I mean, the bottom line is I would think you want to do it when you have all the facts. It's a safer bet to just let things play out, let the cases play out. And we know those cases are not going to happen during the 2022 season. They're going to happen after the season, in next off season. Those are when those things are supposed to be happening if they're not done before then. So it would make no sense to kind of jump the gun and, do that sort of thing before we even know what the end result's going to be.
Yeah, and there's going to be an arbitrator. It isn't Roger Goodell, so it's a different, collectively bargained way of meting out the punishment, if there is one. The other one is $12 million of Baker Mayfield's contract being eaten by the Browns. Reports are now they don't want to eat any of it. So that's a big jump from nothing to 2/3 of it.
Well, I mean, if they still view Mayfield as a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL, maybe they shouldn't eat some of that. But I think you might have to, just with the circumstances of the fact that almost all the starting quarterback jobs are taken. The Seahawks, even though they have Drew Lock and Geno Smith, seem like they're playing the game of chicken, that they really apparently they're putting it out there that they don't want Baker Mayfield as much as they can. But I don't know how comfortable you can be, with those two guys at quarterback. And especially, with a team that's got that much talent, that I would have to imagine they're not going to be anywhere near the market for C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young in 2023. I think ultimately, they may have to eat some of that money just because there's not a lot of spots. And I think, part of it also is Baker may have to come out and say, I'm okay, competing for a job. I'm okay if I have to be a backup for a season. I don't have to start this year. Maybe it comes down to something like that on his part where he has to help his case for being traded, since it seems like obviously right now there's questions about his attitude, questions about his character that kind of come out since, the end of last season. So I think he's got a little work to do there. So I think, it's going to be on both the Browns and Baker to make this thing work as far as, finding him a new home. And, obviously they're going to have to hope that, there's a spot that opens up for him either as a starter, which I'm sure for them would be the preferred option, that they would have to eat less money. They could probably get a better pick as a result, or as a backup where it'd probably be much easier to get him somewhere else.
Who do you think makes the biggest impact this year of the guys the Browns just drafted? Which rookie?
It's pretty easy to say Cade York. I mean, after they cut Chase McLaughlin and Chris Blewett, he's the guy right now. I mean, I know that's the easy answer because he's the only one that's guaranteed, the starting job. I mean, he's 15 of 19 on kicks from 50 yards or more, largely automatic. I think, the only adjustment for him is going to be, kicking in that dog pound end of First Energy Stadium. We know how tricky that can be. They got the special Phil Dawson flag out there. He's going to have to learn about that, but it seems like he's, understanding what the challenges kicking in Cleveland. I like, what he's talked about, with his mental approach to the game. Kicker is always a crapshoot because you never know if they're going to be good or bad, but York's got all the talent, definitely be one of the better kickers in the NFL. And going outside of that, if I was to pick somebody else, I'd say David Bell. I think he finds a place in this receiving core right away. Guys that can catch the football, guys that can create separation. They're always going to find a role in the NFL. I mean, I'm not sure how high David Bell's ceiling is right now. If he can be a Jarvis Landry, if he can even come close to Keenan Allen, for example. I mean, I don't know if he could be as good as either of those guys, but if he can get close to them, this will have been a good pick. And this year, I think he's got a chance to contribute pretty quickly.
Well, we've heard about a number of guys that are excited to play alongside Myles Garrett. Let's take a look. These are from Perion Winfrey's Instagram, and he's getting after it again. We saw it earlier. That is a lot of weight that young man is throwing around. And then let's take a look at what Myles Garrett has been up to. The barbell weight, not enough, so he's going to put the industrial-sized chains on as he is doing the lifts on the floor. But again, a couple of those big defensive linemen getting after it, working out, making sure that everybody knows they're getting ready.
Yeah, I wonder how many Browns fans would pay to watch a weightlifting exhibition with those two guys. I mean, it's impressive stuff that you see these modern athletes do. I mean, we know Myles Garrett is an absolute, he's a physical specimen. I mean, especially what we see in the weight room. So that kind of stuff doesn't surprise me. Perrion Winfrey, I mean, we're quickly learning that he's, got a fiery attitude, that he's excitable, he's got a lot of energy. I mean, if you're going to be a defensive lineman, especially in the NFL, you got to be strong. I mean, got good form on those deadlifts. I don't know exactly how much weight's on there, but, he looks strong. My back kind of hurts watching that a little bit.
Yeah,
but
when you get to be my age, it's like, oof, keep the form correct. That's all we can say.
Absolutely. But strength is a good thing, no question about it.
Without question. Tim Bielik and I going to step aside, take a quick time out. We turn our attention to Baker Mayfield. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Tim Bielik from the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. So Chris Canty on ESPN's KJM talking about Baker Mayfield.
Let me tell you why I don't want Baker Mayfield on my team. There are two types of players in the National Football League. There are guys that will do whatever it takes to be able to win football games. All right? Everybody loves those kind of guys. All right? They're going to hold themselves accountable. They're going to help the organization set the standard for what's expected. And then there are the guys that would like to win as long as they're the reason why their team wins. Baker Mayfield is the latter. And why do I know that? We've seen that because of all of his actions. It seems like he's.
And you don't want that guy anywhere near your team.
No, I don't want that guy anywhere near my team. And here's the thing, Max. We might just say this is the perception of Baker Mayfield, but at some point, perception becomes reality. That's how you get a guy like Robbie Anderson, who's with the Carolina Panthers, and him going out on social media and saying, I don't want Baker Mayfield throwing me passes, even though his quarterback options down in Carolina are Sam Darnold and Will Grier or whoever the hell.
All I'm going to say is I spent some time with Baker. I think Baker can be smart enough to realize if this is the perception out about him, it's his job to change that.
And Tim Bielik, that's a valid point. The question is, can he?
I think, that's got to be part of the challenge he's got with this offseason. It's not just rehabilitating his the left shoulder he had surgery on, it's rehabilitating his image. And I think that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier that, I think Baker might have to come on and say something like, I understand, the volatile behavior I had, but, I'm willing to be a backup. I'm willing to compete for a starting job. I just want a chance, something like that. I think that's going to be part of, him rehabilitating his image, because obviously we've seen, how good things could be when they're good, when things are going good, he's excitable. He's a quote machine. He's just, he's a guy who, when he's hot, but, it's when things get tough, when adversity hits, he's really, shown problems handling it. He hasn't handled it the right way. And it seems to kind of snowball on him anytime things go bad. So that's something he really needs to kind of work on as far as, trying to reestablish himself. And maybe this is a thing that can, humble him and have him understand, the NFL works differently than college. I mean, he's got the talent to perform. There's no question about it. We've seen the talent through 4 seasons with the Browns. It just kind of comes down to, mentality, how he approaches things, how he approaches his relationships with his teammates, how hard he works, how bad he wants to win those things. Those are the things, that he also has to work on in addition to just getting healthy.
Yeah, I would say he's got to just be more consistent, and that's the main thing. This is kind of interesting. So Pro Football Focus says that the Panthers make the most sense. They have Sam Darnold. They drafted Matt Corral. When you look at Baker Mayfield compared to Sam Darnold, I mean, nobody is taking Sam Darnold over Baker Mayfield if you look at that. Now, the interesting thing is Baker Mayfield is not on the Panthers and has that contract number. But you look at those numbers, it's not even close.
No, far from it. And I mean, obviously, Baker over Darnold, that the Browns seem to at least made the right decision in that regard back in the 2018 draft when they picked Baker over Darnold. That decision worked out, but as far as, him being the answer quarterback, that's obviously no. And we saw, about a week ago that obviously there were rumblings that the Browns and Panthers were working on the deal, and maybe the Matt Corral trade threw a wrench, the Matt Corral pick, threw a wrench in that possibility. But I mean, unless they're really trying to go for CJ Stroud or Bryce Young in this 2023 draft, if they're really kind of tanking for it, I don't see how you could feel comfortable with Sam Darnold and Matt Corral as your top two options. I mean, we know the Panthers, we know Matt Rule's kind of under pressure that he needs to win in order to really keep his job because, they just haven't been good. They haven't been good enough with him as the head coach. And David Tepper, the owners, put a lot of pressure on those guys. He's been as vocal as anybody out there about wanting and needing a quarterback. So, I mean, in essence, it's fit. It makes sense. It just kind of comes down to, are the Browns going to lower their asking price? Are the Panthers going to become more comfortable with Baker Mayfield? Again, if he, comes out and says, I'm more than willing to compete for a starting job. If I have to be a backup, I'll be a backup, something like that. I don't know if there's a way to come out and say that, but I think those things would really help him getting moved along. And if he's going to go somewhere, maybe it is Carolina, because I mean, the thing is, until Mayfield either gets traded or cut, this connection between the Browns and the Panthers for Baker is just going to linger.
Tim Bielik, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Tim.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Have a good weekend.
You too. Tim Bielik, make sure you read him. Page of the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. Each week, in conjunction with the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program, we recognize a role model student from somewhere across the state of Ohio. Today, we head to Brecksville. Anna Wise is a sophomore in getting it done in the classroom, better than a 4-point grade point average. She's also one of the stars of one of the top-ranked softball teams in the entire state. Anna Wise, our Ohio Lottery Partners in Education Shining Star. Softball is a game that can be dominated by pitching. The pitcher starts every play with the ball in her hand and is in control. Brecksville High School has a sophomore, Anna Wise, in the circle, and she's one of the reasons the Bees are one of the top teams in the state.
This year, I've been working a lot and my speed has gotten a little better, and then my movement's gotten a little stronger, so that's very helpful. I've been working with my dad a lot. We always work. And then Coach LeFew, he's my pitching coach. He does a great job of always getting me in and helping me out.
I think she's one of the most underrated players in the state. She's left-handed. She's got a really, really good, I shouldn't talk too much about her pitches here going into the playoffs, but her backdoor curve is as good as anybody. She's got a nice changeup. What's happened is, from last year, she went from being a freshman to being a sophomore, and she's turned from a girl to just a young woman and a presence.
Wise's growth from a season ago has been significant, but she's always had that unflappable demeanor in the circle that most really good pitchers possess.
I would say that's definitely my personality. I don't really show much emotion, but a lot of that also comes from, again, having a strong defense behind me. I know if I make a mistake, they're going to be there for me. So that's where a lot of that comes from.
A lot of the girls, I call her the Ice Queen, because no matter what happens, she has no, you would not know the difference. And it's such an important trait as a pitcher. You're right. She does have a calming presence about herself no matter what's going on. It's absolutely her, both on and off the field.
When a team's pitcher is cool under pressure, it settles the whole team down. Wise is also a threat at the plate, hitting in the middle of the Bees' potent batting order.
She can hit. the kid can hit too. I mean, she's hitting 5-something, right? Like, and for power, the kid's a good player. She should go Division I. She really should, and I don't think a lot of people realize it.
By the time I get up, usually Chelsea's already scored, so it's really easy, like going in with an open mindset and just hitting the ball, trying to hit it as hard as I can usually, or if there's runners on, trying to get them in.
Wise brings that same confident, calm, and mature approach to her studies. Taking rigorous classes at Brecksville, she has above a 4.0 GPA, and it is very much something she focuses on.
I'm in bio, and I really like that class, so I'm thinking maybe something more like medically related or something with biology, definitely. Academics are very important. My parents push them a lot, and because academics is really what's going to stick with you your whole life. Softball is like high school, college.
Wise still has 2 more years left of high school, but don't be surprised to start hearing colleges lining up to recruit her to play for them. If you know a student who deserves recognition, we want to hear about them, and you can nominate them completely online. Go to OhioLottery.com. Find the About section. Click on Partners in Education. There you will see links to nomination forms. Nominate that student as an academic all-star, and they could end up being featured as our next shining star. And Anna Wise was the Cuyahoga County Softball Association's Player of the Week for the week that ended. So congratulations to her. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We'll see you back here Monday at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guest Scott Petrak, Browns beat reporter for the Elyria Chronicle-Telegram, as well as Brad Ward from BrownsWire.com. That's Monday at 4, Sports for CLE. We'll see you then. Have a great weekend, everybody.